Dean of, should have mentioned that.
Sorry.
We will be getting recorded. So people on the Zoom, if you do not wish to be on YouTube, turn your cameras off, I guess. Okay, going back to the introduction for Dean Corrigan. Dean Corrigan was appointed Senior Associate Dean. In 2013, Dr. Corrigan was asked to serve as interim dean when the Graduate College was moved to a standalone college reporting to the executive vice president and the provost, after which she became the dean of the Graduate College in 2019. In 2021, Dr. Corrigan was named vice provost of graduate education and dean of Graduate College. That's so much, so many accomplishments. Like I'm like out of breath from reading all the accomplishments. And Dean Keene. Dean Keene joined UNLV faculty in 2001 after completing her graduate work in sociology at Florida State University. In 2005, she won the UNLV College of Liberal Arts William Morris Teaching Award, and at the UNLV Alumni Association College of Liberal Arts Award for Student Centeredness. Dean Keene served as Associate Dean of the College of Liberal Arts from 2013 to 2016 and Executive Associate Dean from 2016 summer to 2018. She was appointed Interim Dean in August 2018 and was then named Dean in 2019. A lot of dates and a lot of accomplishments. So already like impressed, you know? So we will be heading, I will be asking our first question, what is the most memorable part of your graduate school career? Whichever one wants to go first.
Dean Keene. I'm just going to say Dean Corrigan.
I beat you to it.
Rock, paper, scissors. So I think we both would first just say thank you for doing this. We appreciate our colleges collaborating. It's great for you all to be here. We appreciate your interest. We want to help you get to graduate school if that's your path. Dean Corrigan and I, we go by Kate and Jennifer, actually, have been friends and colleagues for a really long time. I think one of the things we would probably both say is neither of us expected to be dean of anything when we were in your seats. And so, so thanks for even being interested, and we're happy to impart whatever attention and wisdom we can try here. So I think the most memorable part of graduate school. So let me just say a little tiny bit. That was an amazing introduction. Thank you. It was also a trip down memory lane in all the weirdest ways. But I guess I would say one thing. So I was not technically the first person in my family to go to college, but I still am the only person in my family to go to graduate school. And so graduate school is it's a different thing than undergrad. And so once you think you have undergrad figured out, then you got to go figure out grad school, which is why you're here. I think that I wouldn't have expected that either. I didn't plan on that. That turned into a thing that I was just on this path to go do. I had some great mentors in undergrad that helped me figure that out. And there I was, and I didn't even think I was going to get a PhD. I thought I would get a master's and stop. So, but none of that happened. Everything just was not, you shouldn't have asked my younger self what I would be doing now. So my point is, I guess, what do I remember or liked most about about graduate school would probably be, well, it'd be different when I was there. When I was there, it was fun, right? When I was there, I had friends, you know, I was pulled all-nighters, I wrote a lot of papers. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I was trying to figure that out. But then looking back on it, I guess I would say, trying to kind of grow up as a sociologist, right? So that's the other thing about us, we're both sociologists. And so that's the perspective you get as the sociologist here. But looking back on it, the kind of cool thing was was watching myself evolve and kind of grow up as an academic and as a sociologist. I also had really great mentoring experiences that are also really near and dear to my heart from my graduate school experience too. So we should talk about all those things, but I'll stop there. So what do you remember?
Well, thank you all. Thank you for that introduction. It is always awkward to sit here and have like these chunks of your life flash before you. So as Dean Keene said, and we're dispensing with that, right?
Yeah, we got to stop.
Kate and Jen, yeah. So grad school's different than undergrad in, I think, mostly the best possible ways, right? And so what I loved about grad school is coming to that realization that I wasn't an undergrad anymore. And it wasn't the status or the title, it was the experience of learning and then the opportunity to teach. And those moments were big for me. So what I mean by that is, so in graduate school, you're not sort of learning what all the other people have done and have said and have created. You sort of are expected to have that base knowledge, and you'll continue to build on that base for sure. But really it's about engagement and discussion and diving in. So if you're in STEM, you're going to be hands in doing your own research. In sociology, you're doing your own research and you're taking apart other people's research and theories and perspectives to sort of chop them up and see what you see there. And I found that really liberating, right? And so for me, that was just this moment of, this is so fun, right? And I loved feeling kind of both independent as a sort of young scholar, not confident by any means, but independent, and that really felt good, And then of course, grad school is really fun. You build relationships that you have your whole life, you have incredible memories, and you do things you think you would never do, So one day you're just thrilled that you got accepted to grad school, and it seems like the next minute, for me, it was about a year later, they're asking you to teach a class, and that moment is just surprising and wonderful and terrifying, but important, So it was all those moments.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Like Dean, he mentioned that one of her fondest memories of her grad college was her experiences with her mentors, and I echo that. My fondest memories have been with Malika, Bella, Jenna, and all my other mentors that I've had the honor to have, and it really does make or break your experience with mentors. Thank you so much for that.
Well, and the reason why it's important is, I don't know if anybody has said this to you all day, but you're going to graduate school to find a mentor. Has anybody explained this? Like, that's the actual thing you're trying to do. So whatever your discipline is, whatever your program is, you're going to try to find someone who will teach you how to be a professional, whatever it is you want to be. And that is through their direct mentorship of you, which is not just telling you which books to read, it's also how to be this kind of person, how to think this kind of way, how to write this kind of way, how to produce your own research and knowledge and contribute to the field. And so you need people who aren't just going to grade your work, but are going to tell you how to do that. And so that's the key, I would say, is my one thing. That's why mentors matter, right? The relationships are all these kind of support systems, but they're also there to teach you how to be a professional and help you succeed. And so that's why they end up being meaningful, because you do have like love for them. Even if they're hard relationships, there's a love there, but they also are part of the building blocks of your experience and your future success. So you end up turning around and going, thank you. Those are the people who helped me do this. That's why the mentors matter so much.
Definitely.
Right? Did I get it?
100%. Yeah, I will say one thing, as grad dean, one of the things you learn when you leave your discipline and you start working in a place like the Graduate College is we have 180 plus graduate programs, and they're not all the same. So I would say there's a continuum, right, of where mentorship matters. And so what we say in grad school is that grad school follows what's called the mentorship model, right? Which means as an undergraduate, you're sort of a passive receptacle. You might have discussion classes or hands-on labs, but you're still sort of taking in all the knowledge from your professors or instructors. At graduate school, it's your mentors who are really developing you, as Jen was saying. That continuum, though, is you get that in all grad programs, but there are some professional master's programs that you go through in a cohort where it's less about personal direct mentorship. On the far other end of the spectrum are research doctoral programs, right? So if you're in a research-based doctoral program, that's where it's 100% mentorship from day one forward. And so there's a bit of a continuum. So depending on which program you decide to pursue, this will be relevant no matter what, but the degree of relevance may vary by the type of program.
Awesome. Thank you for expanding on the mentoring model. I did not know that there were so many layers. Thank you. So our next question is, what is your proudest accomplishment that you attribute to your graduate degree?
You go first.
Hot potato. All right. I'm gonna say being here in the role that I have now, working with all of you, having colleagues like Jen. I think this is, for me, probably the greatest accomplishment and the one that I enjoy most. Not that I haven't loved every other stage of my career, but I think just personally for me, it's about how much of an impact you can have. And so as you move through positions, at least in my experience, I've gained the ability to build teams. You see some of my team in the corner of amazing people, to work with incredible people around campus. And ultimately the bottom line is to support students, right? And that's an honor and a privilege. And I don't think it's an honor and privilege I would have had the opportunity to do had I not earned a doctoral degree, right? And there's a long path from the day I graduated with my doctoral degree and getting here, but this is definitely for me, I think, what's made it all worthwhile.
I mean, I don't know, but it's what at this point in my life I don't attribute to that. I'm not really sure. So, I mean, graduate school and earning a PhD was such a formative thing. It was such a transformative thing that everything that's happened in my life since then. I mean, it was really even just an identity formation, right? Like you all think of yourselves that way, but not yet. But you will, right? And then suddenly you have this degree and you meet random people and they say, oh, you're a professor. Whoa, there's like weird stuff that happens in your head about the status that goes along with this really small group of people, the stats. The small group of people in the country who actually have graduate degrees is actually really small. So anyway, I guess I would just say the same thing. It's shocking to me how this thing that I really kind of felt my way through is the key to why I'm talking to you all, right? And the impact really is the key. I know this is another thing that our colleges have in common is both Kate and I have amazing teams of people. Some of them are here, our colleagues were here. Jenna, Val, come on, right, Neb, I mean, we get to work with amazing people. And even though we don't necessarily get to do every single thing of that, we get to work with people who do the work and who really make transformation happen, I think, for lots of students. And I do, a lot of people also ask, just do you miss teaching? Because we don't really get to teach anymore. And yeah, the answer to that is yes.
100%.
Yeah. So that was when we first got out of graduate school, we were regular professors. That was where a lot of that impact and change and power and knowledge really mattered, was in the classroom. We wrote papers, we did research, but really being in the classroom and having, to touch students' lives, and especially at a place like UNLV, MSI, first gen, all these opportunities here to really have an impact in the classroom. So that's like when we were professor hats, right? And that's where a lot of us stay. Actually, we're kind of weird because we kept going into administration. And then we have a different kind of impact and a different kind of reach and a different set of colleagues. But we still kind of have that professor hat on sometimes as well, and really do miss teaching and being with students in direct ways. Now our interactions with students are different, just not in the classroom. So. Okay, I don't know where I just put that. I don't know.
No, I like that because you start, like there's a hierarchy, right, in every single profession, and you start with teaching or like associate professor, then professor, and then you feel like, oh my God, I'm losing touch with the very thing that I wanted to do, and which is why DSEC is so important.
Which is why we love DSEC. All right, we love our DSEC. Yes, exactly.
Plug, how professional. Okay, so our next question actually goes into this one, our previous question. So how has your graduate education changed your perception of yourself? Who's going first?
I mean, I went first last time. You go ahead.
Do you have something?
I do.
Go.
All right. Now I forgot it. No, I don't actually remember who I was before. I mean, I do, but I don't. You know what I mean? It's really, I only see my former self through the eyes of my current self. And so it's a little bit hard to remember exactly who that person was. But for me, grad school was absolutely transformative. So no one believes this. And those of you who who know me will especially not, but I was so shy. Like I sat in the back of the room and kept my mouth shut and never said anything. And, you know, it was sort of a miracle that I ended up going to grad school. One of my professors teased me when I was graduating. I was a senior, and he said to me, you know, he had a lot of participation stuff, so I had to engage more. And he said to me, "We're really, really glad you engaged. We actually maybe thought that you were mute for a while." And because you seem to be smart, but you never say anything. And so, you know, it wasn't just my perception of myself, it was the perception I was giving the whole world, right? And I just didn't have a lot of confidence, and I didn't take up much space, you know. And grad school taught me otherwise. And for me, going back to the teaching comment that Jen just made, it was being in the classroom for the first time where I found my voice, right? And I started to find my confidence and my knowledge and in my ability to work with people and, you know, and impart knowledge. And that changed everything, right? And then, of course, I had many, many years of being really quiet and shy to catch up on. So I haven't stopped talking ever since. So how did it change who I am and my sense of myself? It gave me confidence. It helped me find my voice. It, you know, it was empowering. Grad school is empowering. You know, you are going to come out of it stronger and more confident and wiser than you started. I think that's a sort of inevitable process. I don't know. What do you think?
That was great. I didn't know that about you because I could live the same story.
You're kidding.
I never spoke
All
once
these
in
years.
college, not once in college. I didn't talk at all. I hid in the back. I didn't talk. It was, no, not at all. And then it was a struggle once I got, so in grad school, you're in rooms that are smaller than this with small groups of people. You've been in seminars, you talk about this all day, right? So, so you can't hide. You are like totally visible and you're expected to participate. And it was painful to me to have to do that. Like it was very hard. And then having to teach, I thought I was going to puke on my shoes every single time before I went into the classroom. And now you can't shut us up. So it's totally shocking to me that I stand in front of people for a living and talk. That is really not at all who I ever would have been. I don't remember what the question was now because I didn't know that about
I
you.
know. How is it that we still?
I don't know.
Our kids, we still don't know.
I know. It's really weird. Shy, no longer shy.
So since we are on the topic of, you know, like being shy and not perhaps raising your hand as much. So how can women advocate for themselves in the workplace? It is a big one. I'm sorry.
Well, I think
It's important. Don't apologize.
yeah, I think you have to find people. You have to find not just like your tribe, but you also have to find people who can help you and who believe in you to some extent, and put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable. So for example, when I first was asked to think about being an associate dean, I laughed in the person's face. I was like, me? You're kidding. No way. That's insane. No way. And then I thought about it for 3 or 4 days and I said, I'm going to put on my big girl pants and see if I can actually entertain this idea. I didn't see it in myself. Somebody else said it to me. And then it's like, okay, I'll be uncomfortable. I'm shy. I'll be uncomfortable and try and see if I can do this thing. And at every stage since then, that's also been the case of being uncomfortable and trying to challenge myself to see if I can do this. And then it keeps working. And then so that's what I guess I would start with is like, you have to be, I think you need allies and you need colleagues and you need people who will help encourage you, but I think you also have to be willing to try and be a little uncomfortable.
All of that. You can't do it without any of that. And I would just broaden your question, if that's okay, a little bit, that, you know, you have to advocate for yourself as a woman in the workplace for sure, but there are lots of other profiles of folks that need to advocate for themselves besides women, right? And so I think that's one of the big changes since I started grad school. It was very much about women being marginalized, and today we recognize that marginalization is intersectional and complex, and so I think almost everyone needs to find ways to advocate for themselves. And so what are those ways? Well, it's hard because it depends on the context of the situation and the structure that you're working in and your position, what you're trying to advocate for, right? But I think in every instance, the answer is to go for what you think you deserve, right? And to be your own champion and know that that's okay, right? You have to be, because if you're not your own champion, who will be, right? If you walk around without confidence in yourself, if you start presentations with an apology, if you open meetings with, I'm sorry, but, then people see you in that role. If you don't do that, if you respect and feel empowered in your presentation to others, then they'll see that in you, right? Or at least there's a better chance of it. So there's those kinds of cultural things to do. And then there's just the structural things. Like sometimes it's just unfair and it sucks. And I bet, you know, there's another road we could travel down. We don't have to right now, but I bet Jen and I both had very similar experiences over the years of, you know, pretty explicit sexism and being treated differently and having to fight to get, you know, what we earned or deserve. And you will too. And I guess if there's any comfort at all in knowing that it's not you, you're not alone. This is the structure of our society. And it's, you know, our culture and society is set up to treat people differently and unfairly. And so it's our job, that's part of the impact, I think, that both Jen and I work to try and make a difference in every day. But it also is something you need to recognize so you don't internalize it as being about you. Because that then fuels the imposter syndrome, which we haven't talked about, what my guess is you spoke about during the day today. And I definitely had the imposter syndrome and still do at times. And so you need to know imposter syndrome is not you. It is everyone at different moments, different degrees, but it's out there. So don't feed the imposter. You know, recognize that the system is set up to reproduce inequality. And then that might empower you to speak up, to ask for what you need, to build those alliances.
Look for models. You know, you don't even have to know them personally, but look and see who you think is doing a good job at it, you know, and steal from them, you know, like plagiarize. Yeah, right. Dean's telling you to plagiarize. You know, there's certain phrases, you know, like there's like, so instead of saying, oh, thank you all for being here. Sorry, I was late. You know, like there's other ways to do that. And you can, when you see something, do it beautifully. Write it down, you know, and take those things, because how we carry ourselves and how we talk and all these things really matter. And I think having models of people who you think are doing it right and knowing when you see somebody who's doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Pay attention to those things as well. Because some people really make things look beautiful and seamless, even if they're feeling like an imposter or butterflies inside. And you can also see really bad behavior and say, I'm not going to do that, you know, when like, and you can see the effects of it too. So I pay attention in those ways as well. I would say.
Be your own champion. I need it on a poster. Like it's the one thing I'm taking away from today.
If not who, you, then who, right?
Exactly, definitely. Love that. So next question actually kind of also again goes into talking about imposter syndrome. So how do you combat tokenism and burnout?
How do you do that now? Well, burnout, I mean, there's all this stuff about self-care all the time, right? And everybody's been doing weird self-care stuff for the last year and a half in a very specific context. I don't think it's something to be flip about. I do think it really matters. You know, you really do have to have time where you don't look at your email. You have to really have non-work time. You have to have family time. You have to have friend time. You have to build in time, and you're going to be busy. Very busy people now. You're only going to get busier. It doesn't slow down. You think you're busy now, huh? Okay, it's only going to get worse. So you do have to actually build it in. And I'm sure you've talked about time management and stuff, but it's really true. That's one thing I would think of. I think self-care it's like wellness and self-care is now like, these are all like buzzwords now, but I do think that they really do matter. You have to have something that you do outside of this work. So that you don't burn out. I started yoga in graduate school, actually 20 something years ago. And I would say it's how I did my dissertation, started taking yoga. And it wasn't just the yoga, it was actually the little community I had in that space that really actually helped me. And it's, so I don't know, what other things would you say?
Yeah. So tokenism. So are you asking like when we're the token? Yeah. So, I mean, there's only a couple, I think there's only like 3 options to answer that. One is you can refuse to be the token, right? You can step out of that situation if you're feeling like you're being used or put in a position that isn't helpful, supportive, and beneficial to you or others, right? I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm just saying it is an option. Option 2 is to, settle as that. So recognize it and say, okay, this is horrible, but here are the good things about where I'm at. And here's why me staying here is good, not just for me, but for others in these ways. So be reflexive about it. You don't have to accept it as something positive, but you accept it as something that is. And then once you've accepted it as something that is, you can then say, okay, what can I do, to, you can't necessarily fix it, but to balance that out. What good can I put back, right? And the third option, you could do alongside the second, and that is you could work to change it in your organization, which is usually more of a culture shift. So talking to and convincing and colleagues and supervisors and building allies who can first at least see the problem, because very often that's an invisible problem, right? And so if you can name the problem and make others see the problem with you, that's a big part of the battle, right? And then the conversation is, how do we fix it? And it's probably hiring practices and asking to be on the search committee next time if you have the opportunity to do so. So you can have a say at the table of who's hired. So there are those very proactive kinds of approaches. So that's the tokenism piece.
Thank you so much. I needed to hear that. Thank you. So our next question is, who is one role model in your life that inspired you to pursue your career?
Just one,
One.
I just spoke to you again.
Well, I think I don't know, I have a lot of people I've looked up to. But I guess thinking about it in the graduate school context, I had kind of grandmother faculty who I think of as my grandmothers. They were just senior women who were like second wave feminists, basically, who had come up in the academy and academia during a time when there weren't a lot of women, and I was benefiting from that. And there weren't a lot of people of color. And so they were kind of old when I was young. I was very young. Now that I really think about it, I was very young in their midst and learning from them, but also, so I kind of think about, I guess, my sociology grandmothers. They were really hardcore feminists. They were really awesome. And they're cut from a cloth that is kind of aging out now, and they're passing away. And so I guess I would say like 3 or 4 women who were part of my graduate school experience who they're amazing people. So I guess that's what I would say.
Yeah. In my grad school context, I guess I would say a professor. It was a Canadian guy who was a social theorist, and he taught me intro to soc. And I was not interested in sociology. I had a whole bunch of other plans for myself. And his class was transformative. And one day I got up the nerve, remember the whole shy thing, to like go chat with him after class. And it like took a week to get it, and like false starts. Like, today's the day. No, today's not the day. Today's no, not today. So finally I go up and I talk to him, and I'm all shaky. And I said, I really like your class. And there's not much else really to say. Like, I wasn't sure what to ask. And he immediately saw and understood, right? To my great horror, what he said is, come on, let's go talk. Let's go to my office across campus. I drove over. Oh my God, I have to walk with a human. I have to get in a car with a human. I have to drive across campus with this human. I have to go sit in his office and have a conversation. I was like, the worst case scenario for me. Anyway, he turned out to be my doctoral advisor and my mentor. And he was a feminist, sort of incredible human who paved the way for me, really, and taught me a ton, and was my advocate and showed me how to bring others along, I think. And he was so devoted to that, and he's passed away, unfortunately, too young. Hence my past tense, in case you think I was being rude. And so, yeah, so I think you find your person, you know, and what one of my big takeaways from that is to see that in other people, because he clearly saw it in me immediately, and he made me get over that hurdle. And I was young, I was a freshman, and somehow I still ended up being a social major, and I still ended up going to social grad school. And so now what I always ask is, like, I look for those people, you know, the people who somebody should tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, come on, let's go talk, or have you thought about grad school, or whatever it happens to be. And so hopefully you pay it back for those people who change your life.
Dr. Corrigan, I just had deja vu because that story sounds awfully familiar to my sophomore year when I met my now mentor and role model in my major, Dr. Nurses. He was so intimidating, and he just sounded, Professor sounds smart, I think. Yes, I love him so much. And he was like, I really like your take on the second sex by Simone Beauvoir. I really enjoyed it. You like my people? Like, okay. And then the same happened. He was like, hey, you know what? I have some open hours. Let's talk. And I'm a senior now. We're still in touch. I have taken the more advanced level of the class yet. And now I know what I'm passionate about.
There you go.
So meet your professors. Just segued real quick.
And then when you get where you're going, bring others along.
Definitely.
Be that person.
Education is a communal thing. I feel like when you get educated, you're not doing it for yourself, and you can really brighten up another community, right? Pass the baton, and education is the baton. And by passing that light, you can light a few candles along the way, you know?
Okay, she wins.
I know.
Game
I'm
over.
glad it's being transcribed. That's good. We should write this down.
So what is one piece of advice you would give your undergrad or grad self? Loaded question. They're all so.
I don't even know.
I know, right? These are hard.
It's really hard.
Um,
I think talking to your professors is a really good one. And I didn't do that as an undergraduate. I struggled to do it as a graduate student, but I think that does really matter. It would have been nice to be less shy earlier. That would have been good for me. I think I'd say be open. There's a lot of opportunity that happens that you don't really know, and you can, like, things are scary, you know, there's, you know, fear keeps you from doing things, right? Or nervousness keeps you from doing things. So being open and taking little chances, being willing to be uncomfortable is actually a really good thing. That's, I guess, what I would wish for myself again.
Yeah, I think I mean, I agree with all those. I think I might, on the fear thing, for sure, I tell myself to stop being afraid. Like,
Yeah.
what do you have to lose? You know,
Right.
if you ask for something, they say no, big deal. Because if you don't ask, the answer was no anyway, right? So ask for what you need. Reach out and try things. So get rid of the fear. Beat down that imposter syndrome as soon as you can. Not that it'll ever necessarily go away, but just recognize it for what it is, name it, and tuck it away, right? I wish someone had made me do that. And be bold. You know, one of the things I learned, and I bet you'll know who told me this, but many years ago, is someone said, life isn't short, life is long. And at first I was like, oh my God, that's a weird thing to say. And I thought, oh, that's wonderful. Life is long. Like, this moment is no big deal, you know? So if something goes wrong, big deal, keep going. Life is long and it's so full of adventures. Like, be bold, seize them, you know? Don't see life as short and finite and pressured. You know, enjoy it, seize the day, right? And see it as the long road that it is. And that'll help put in perspective those little bumps.
It's good.
Yeah, I wish I would have heard that sooner.
Life is long. I've never heard that before, but I'm a fan of anything that sounds remotely poetic. So again, I need that on a poster as well.
It's like there's so much small stuff. It's like you can't sweat every small thing.
No.
Right?
This
So
too
take a
shall
long
pass.
view.
Yeah.
This too shall pass, yes.
This too shall pass. Not a big deal.
Definitely, definitely. So how has graduate education evolved over the years?
Whoa.
Well, I don't. So this might might be controversial, but I don't think grad ed has actually changed very much. I think the world around grad ed has changed tremendously. So like, okay, what did you use to save your dissertation?
It doesn't exist anymore.
Right, what is it?
It was the moment when zip disks
Mhm.
there were the big floppy disks and there were small micro disks, and then there was a minute where there were these fat but still smallish looking zip disks.
Yep.
And that's what my dissertation is on.
Yep.
Somewhere.
I started my grad school with the 3x5s.
Yes.
The little plastic ones, with the little
Yes.
ring, right? Point being, what do you all save your work on?
Where does it go?
Not even in a computer, not in a, like USBs are outdated. You can't even give away
Yes.
USBs anymore,
Yes.
right? So it's in the cloud. Point being, all of the world has changed because of technology. This is my perspective, right? Both the technology that we work in, our computers, if you're in STEM, what those computers let you do, if you're crunching numbers, any of those things. When you're writing, how you save it, how you store it, how you do research online. I mean, internet and computers have changed everything. But grad school itself hasn't changed that much, right? The other thing that's changed everything is this, your little pocket computer. You know, you're now plugged in 24/7. So back to Jen's earlier comment about self-care, like this does not promote self-care most of the time. It can. You might have some apps that help, but generally this is the enemy of self-care. Recognize it, right? So when I was in grad school, these didn't exist. So it was harder to find friends and you had to like actually go to a phone and there were all these weird old people things. But it also meant that people couldn't force me into working or expect me to work 24/7. And that's not the case today. So when you're a grad student, you have 24/7 connectivity, expectations, work, all those things. And so the pace is different for you now than it was for us. That's the world changing, not grad school changing. My comment about grad school not changing very much is the mentorship model, the class structure, the way that faculty mentor students, the way we assess theses and dissertations and our format, like most of that is surprisingly, shockingly the same. And I personally find that a bit demoralizing, just to be honest. Like I think we probably need a radical shake-up in higher ed and in grad ed. But that shakeup, I don't think has really happened. I think the world has changed more than the institution. Am I wrong?
No, you were totally on. That was all, yes. And then I guess I would just add on that the job market has changed.
Oh, yeah.
So there's grad school, and then there's what you do after graduate school, and that has changed a lot in the last 20-something years that we've been out. So I don't know. That's a whole other thing that we probably don't want to talk about.
Jenna, do we have any questions in the Zoom chat?
I have a question. So how do you handle that shift in perspective from being expected to consume info in undergrad and then, you know, as you merge into graduate school, you're expected to contribute and produce more info and education?
Baptism by fire. I don't know. It's just, I mean, there's no real transition. It's like 1 minute you're an undergrad and the next you're a grad student. And when you walk in that first grad class, the expectations change. Now you all are hearing that.
Yeah, at
and
least
so
you're being told that.
yeah,
We didn't know.
It's not going to be as shocking, right? But for those folks who don't come to events like this, who don't have mentors who tell them or parents with grad degrees that prep them, those students walk in blind. And then they don't realize that, you know, I always say, people think it's just a nice little ramp, undergrad to grad. Oh, no. This is undergrad to grad. There's a big, huge step. And you got to figure out, are you going to use a ladder to get up it? Are you going to hop it? Are you going to, now, how are you going to get up it? But it's different. And when you walk in, you'll just see that the expectations are different. And the good thing is you start with a cohort of people who are in the same boat. And so you carry each other, you buoy each other.
But it's all like too much. Like you can never, you can never read it all. They're going to give you too much reading. You can't read it all. You got to get good at figuring out how to manage just even what you're supposed to read in order to write something, in order to contribute something in a classroom. It's just, it's a fire hose in a lot of ways. But that's the challenge, right? It's also like it's just a hazing event, really. It's a hazing ritual. So it's like, can you keep up? Can you fake it through? Can you, manage how you manage it? So it's like, it's got an emotional kind of, it's not just about the work, it's how you manage all of it, the experience.
I love how you say how you manage the work and how you manage your readings. Here's what Jen really means. You have to learn to not read it all. and
You
still
can't read it all. You have to
understand.
figure
You
it, like,
So you have to learn like
do
which
it.
parts you have to read and how to strategically skim so that you absorb it, right? But if you feel like you're bound to do every little thing, you're never gonna make it. You'll drown.
And then the thing about not just consuming, but producing, because that's where they're gonna put it on you. Like, they're not gonna check and ask you, they're not gonna get quizzes on the reading. That's over, right? It's the paper you have to produce and the conversation you have to contribute to, right? So that's the trial by fire. You could do.
For sure.
So we are in a room full of students who aspire to go to grad school. Now, what is a grad school myth that you debunked only after attending grad school? That you were like, this was.
That everybody else in the room is smarter than you.
Yes.
Oh.
They're full of shit. And you're gonna meet the people who sit there and they throw their car keys down on the table and they take up space and they look like they've done all the reading and they know everything, and it's a total act.
Yep.
All of it is an act and they probably won't finish. Right? Right? It's a total act, right? So they're countering their imposter syndrome by overdoing it in this other way. And it's supposed to intimidate everybody in the room, and it works unless you don't let it work. And you just see through that and you put that person aside, put them in the box they belong in.
Yep.
And then you don't let them distract you, because they're gonna take up a lot of space and a lot of air in the room. They're gonna talk. And you're gonna think, oh, the professor loves this person. No, they don't.
No.
No, they don't.
Everybody always thinks we do. We don't.
Yep, no, we know.
Don't tell anyone.
No, I know. So that's a myth, that everybody there is super smart and amazing and they all know what they're doing. Not at all. What else?
No, that's a
That's it,
huge one.
right?
Well, I guess the flip side of that too is faculty. Like, faculty are amazing humans who are doing their very best, and they're really smart. They are accomplished by being there, and they're dedicated, because most all of them could have other jobs and other industries and make a lot more money than you do as a professor, but they're choosing to be here because they care, right? For the most part. And so the one thing I would say though is you have to learn to be able to critique your professors. And that's part of that experience of going through grad school, right? So I went in thinking that they all knew everything and were perfect. And I came out thinking they knew everything and were really close to perfect, but this one didn't understand this, and that one's too much of a structuralist, and this one's too much of a quantoid, right? And that's an important and empowering moment. And so,
Because it tells you who you want to be.
yeah,
And who you are
that's right.
as an academic, as a professor, as a whatever you're gonna be.
Find your positionality.
We have a question on Zoom. Dean Corrigan, I feel like you touched on this a little bit, but Dean Keen, if you want to touch on this. So how and when did you decide you wanted to go to graduate school? What was kind of that push for you that you're like, this is what I'm doing?
So I was torn. I at some point, I guess probably late junior year, I was like, I don't think I want to be done with college. This is actually a good deal. It's fun. I like learning. Like, this doesn't suck. And so the next question was, what do I do for grad school? And so I started to explore options because of that professor who started to say, hey, go to grad school, right? And other professors, hey, I heard you're considering grad school, go to grad school. So that helped a lot, but I wasn't sure what. I was a double major as an undergrad. So I was obviously interested in PhD programs in both of my fields. I was political science and sociology. And the other logical choice is law school. And so I was really around the block a million times on that. Ultimately, honestly, I felt like political science, at least at that point, was pretty male dominated. And I thought sociology was a better home for me. And I could do very similar kinds of work in either field. So this is probably going to be on YouTube and I'm going to get hate mail for that, but I keep forgetting. But there you go, truth. And then law school was a possibility. And my dad's a lawyer, and he was like, yeah, don't be a lawyer. It's awful to be a lawyer. And so he really tried to convince me not to. It didn't really help. And what it came down to for me, bottom line, is sociology or law school. And the answer was, if I don't do a doctoral degree now, when I'm 22, chances of coming back and doing this big, massive thing, pretty small. Law school, 2-3 years, you could go back and do that anytime. I put law school away and went for PhD. Take the big bites first, climb the big mountain before you get tired, you know, save the other ones later.
While you're still young and have energy.
Yeah. Then you get old and like tired. So anyway, that was the moment I decided my path, is when I realized that.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do, and my boyfriend at the time said, why don't we just keep going to college? And I said, okay. And I didn't know what that really meant. Like I said, nobody had any, so I talked to like one professor about, I was thinking of doing this, and I wasn't in my home state, so I was like, I'll go back to my home state and I'll get in-state tuition, and I didn't know what I was doing. It was just, I don't know what job I'm supposed to get. I mean, let's just keep going to college. Okay. And like I said, I thought I'd just get a master's degree, because I was like, I don't even know what a PhD is. I had no clue. And so I was like, yeah, I'll just get into a master's program. Little did I know it was a PhD track program, which I didn't know what that was. And so it was like, you get in and then you're on a PhD track, you get your master's along the way. We have those here. And so it was like, I was thinking, okay, well, I'll get the master's and then I'll get out of here. And then it was like, I was in, and I had mentors, and I had, I was doing okay. I had a GA ship, and I was getting a class and teaching. And so I was like, I guess I'm gonna keep going. So, oh, do you want to hear the stat? Can I tell this one thing?
Yeah.
So I was like totally clueless, right? Completely clueless. I think I'm trying to make that clear to you. No idea what I was doing. And I went to my graduate program without a GA ship. I was not funded. And I'm sure you've talked about this all day, right? And so the question of whether or not you go to graduate school without funding. And so I worked at Walden Books. Those don't even exist anymore. I worked at Walden Books during graduate school. I know. And so I had my little job, and I was going to classes, and I was in my cohort had 12 people in it. And everybody but me and like 2 other people were funded. And I didn't even know I was out. I didn't even know I was uncool, because that wasn't even clear to me. And by the second year, we were down to 3. Everybody dropped out, but me and 2 guys by the second year. And then only me and another guy got our master's degree. And I am the only person in that cohort who got funded, or no, who got a PhD, who finished. So it was like, I was a total outsider, no idea, didn't even know how cool I was. And I just was like, yeah, and just kept going. And then I got funded. I got a GA ship in my second year, which I didn't know really how great that was. And it was. And then it was like done.
Yeah.
But I win, is what I'm saying. I won. I started from way behind, but I won. And I never tell them. This is going to be on the internet, but they don't even care about me.
You were the chosen one.
I didn't know it though. I had no idea. All I did was I just stayed the course. I don't like change. I don't like change. So I just stayed the course through the whole thing.
But I mean, that is part of the mystery answer. Like, how are you successful in grad school? One foot in front of the other. You know,
Yeah.
that old like 70s holiday cartoon about just put one foot in front of the other and soon you'll be walking out the door. That's
They
the
don't know
song.
that.
They don't know that, but you should go watch it. It's really cool. It's the old claymation. You can still find them. Anyway, one foot in front of the other. Like, stay the course. Be resilient. You know, and just
Also be
keep going.
reasonable, like be nice to people. That really
Oh
helps.
my God,
That'll
that's the-
help you so much if you're nice to them. If you're not a jerk, it really goes a long way.
Can I tell them one thing? So I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be a doctor. I wouldn't have a PhD if I hadn't been nice to people. True story.
Same here.
Because, no, I mean, like, literally. Because my major professors, they happened to be a couple. They left before I finished and went to another university. And the grad dean, this is funny, right, said, sure, they can be on your committee. And then the grad dean reversed their decision for some unknown reason. So the me at that school, when I had never thought I'd be grad dean, and took away my committee, basically said they can't be your committee anymore. So here I was, almost done, like 3/4 or more through a dissertation, and no one else in the department that did that kind of work really, and literally had no committee. And so I was about like, it was like drop out of grad school time, right? There was like, what do you do? And I had, my only option was like to go to these other faculty and to ask for help, even though I did something that they didn't understand, that wasn't part of their world. And truth be told, not all of them liked my professors. There were internal politics. That's how campuses are. And the first one I went and asked said, of course I'll help. And I said, you will, thank you so much. And they said, you are always nice to everyone. You always help. I'm gonna help you. Really, he's like, forget about what I think about your mentors. Like, I'll do this for you. And I was like, oh my gosh, do you think I can find 2 more? And he's like, yes, we can find 2 more who will help you.
Oh.
And these are people that I didn't even know were my allies and friends, right? And so the little things, even among people you don't really know, and they came together and they served as my committee and I earned my degree. So literally they saved me. Yeah. So be nice. It will pay off. And even if it doesn't, it's the right thing to do, but it will pay off.
Such a easy thing, like just be nice. Like, she like didn't think I'd have to tell that to you guys.
Easy. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people who defy that rule.
I want to make sure I'm not, are we ignoring anybody online?
No,
Oh, you're
you're
watching,
good.
okay.
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
I keep
at.
seeing these little
You can
notes.
also see it there too. Yeah, closer.
We've got a hand down here.
I have a comment and a question. My comment first is, thank you for saying everything that you have said about time, because I'm at a point in my life where I'm with the what ifs of grad school and what if I run out of time, what if I don't do this, what if I don't do that? And I feel like I'm running out of time, but I'm so young. And that really helps. So thank you so much for that. My question is, there's so many programs in the nation for grad school. What did you look for in a program, and could you give us any advice as to what we should look for?
So I went to my home state. That's how I did it. But before I did that, I looked at that faculty and said, are there people there doing things that I'm interested in? So that is my #1 piece of advice. I don't know. You got, I mean, if you come back to like, you're looking for a mentor, you got to go find a program where there are people who, they don't have to be studying exactly what you want to study, but they got to have something that you can learn from them to study what you want to study, right? And so, I mean, there's lots of other more nuanced things that I'm sure Kate could really delineate, but I would say you're looking for a menu of people to learn from, to work from. And so I think that's the key, because you can't like, so we've had people, there was a guy who way back when who wanted to study like ambulance drivers or something in the sociology department here. And nobody on the faculty was like, I don't know
Who does
what
this?
we don't do this. I don't know how am I supposed to help you?
How do we
I
train
mean,
you?
who can we help? How can we help you? I think that was a weird topic, but anyway, and I don't remember the real thing about it, but it was like, it wasn't a good fit. You're not a good fit for our program if none of us, this is the expertise you have in the room, the faculty, that is the thing that you are looking for. And so if they don't have something that can inform what you're doing or what you think you want to do, the other thing is you might not know that you want to study ambulance drivers, which is totally fine. Totally fine. You can go shopping and look at those faculty and say, that looks cool. That looks cool. That person's work looks interesting. And that's cool too. You don't have to have it figured out before you walk in the door, at least not in the programs I know anything about. I'm sure there's some that you do, but you can be open, right? But you're looking for humans who you can learn from. Sorry.
No,
You're
no,
going-
sorry,
yeah,
we're
no,
sorry.
I'm not
Don't
apologizing.
do
Jen. You're taking up my space. Go ahead.
All of that, I guess I would add that back to that continuum, it depends on what kind of program you're looking for. But even if you're in like a professional program, a master's or a doc program that has a pretty standard curriculum and it's a little bit less of the intensive mentor model. So for example, like an MBA or a social work degree or accounting or a professional doctoral degree like physical therapy or occupational therapy or something like that. If you're in one of those programs, it is definitely about faculty because what they study is still coming across in your classes, right? So you still have to study the faculty and make sure that what they do looks interesting, because even if you don't need to write a thesis or do a dissertation, they're going to be talking about their stuff in class all the time, right? So very similar. Look at the course catalog and see what kind of courses they offer. If they offer a bunch of courses that look dry and boring to you, stop, go no further, right? This will be painful. Why put yourself through that? Find a program that when you look at their list of courses, you go, oh, I can't wait, right? When do they offer this one? How do I take that one? How many do I get to take? Find that, so look at the catalogs. And I don't know if any of you have ever read a student handbook or catalog before, but I'm telling you, go find the grad catalogs or the handbooks or both for the programs you're interested in and see if it looks like something you want to do, right? So that's important. Faculty, requirements, courses, see if it aligns, right? The other thing ideally is look at their funding. So what are the options for you? What's the likelihood that you'll get a graduate assistantship or a fellowship or at least a bunch of scholarships? And what does it look like on the financial side? And take that into consideration. And then the other thing I advise people, and this is a little bit on the down low, like be a little secret shopper. You know, if their application is terrible, if you contact people and they don't get back to you, if you go to the website and it's, you know, outdated and a mess, this tells you something. And it probably tells you something that's not awesome. Now, they might have brilliant faculty and great classes, but it's going to tell you that your administrative experience, right? The bureaucracy you're going to go through there is going to add stress to your life. And if you're somebody who can handle that, great, but pay attention to it. Because people think that doesn't matter. And ultimately that can be that camel straw, you know, that last one. So, you know, if they have great websites and they're up to date and they're communicative with you and they're responsive, those are great signs, and you can reasonably think that will continue when you're a student.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Dean Horgan. Thank you so much, Dean Keen, for sharing your valuable insight with us today. Everybody help me give them a warm round of applause. Thank you for you guys too for coming to our Career Leaders Certificate third workshop. Our next workshop is Find Your Future, which is going to be taking place on October 14th in SU room 208. Jenna, am I correct? Yes. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. And Jenna, this is me giving you the invisible something.
Yes, we have 2 last scholarship winners. So in person, I actually wanted to ask you, I don't know your name. Gianni?
Oriana, John Oriana.
Well, congrats.
Oh.
And via Zoom, we have Zainab. So you're still on. Yay, congrats. It's Dean Horgan and Dean Keen. I was almost going to say first names. I just can't allow myself to.
No, you should. Okay.
If you have like a couple minutes behind, people can mingle. If not, you're free to go. But really, we really did. I can speak for myself. I appreciated this panel so much. I was waiting for it all day. So.
Oh, good.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for asking.
Yeah, this was
Appreciate
really
it.
fun. We don't get to do this very often.
Awesome. Well,
memory.
thanks, guys. We'll see you at our next workshop. Hope you have a great day. And if you have any questions, everyone's here.
And if you're watching online or in Zoom, you know how to reach us. You can email or call. Like, I don't want to speak for Jen, but I always say, like, once we've been in one of these, we're old friends, and reach out if you have questions or if I can help. So, absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
Good job, y'all.